We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there. Morning, everyone. So delighted to be here with you this morning. Hope that wherever you are, that you are feeling the joy and aliveness that Sina transmitted this morning with the Radiant Sutra. What a beautiful, beautiful morning. So, boy, there's just so much joy just in listening to that song. We are awakening. So with that, I would like to share Awakening Together's purpose. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose. And what's that purpose? Awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. So, I am about to share a song with you. This song was introduced to me by my dear friend Cindy, who I believe today is her birthday. So happy birthday, Cindy. I don't know if you're in the room, but happy birthday. And it kind of sets the framework for where we're going today. The name of this song is Take These Thoughts, and it is by Chris and Thomas. So I invite you to just open to what this song has to tell you as you're listening to it. So Sina, would you please share that song? Yes. So take these thoughts. With that said, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of prayer. Dear God, we are but your humble servants. We come to you with the desire to be nothing more than empty vessels. Please take these thoughts. We humbly follow you in faith and devotion. We joyfully ask for your guidance in all things. Please let us hear your voice. And we surrender these thoughts by not listening to the habit mind energy. And we ask you to replace them with your voice. Amen. So the value that comes in for today's homily is our core value number 3. And before I read that core value to you, I'm just going to read to you the title of today's talk. The title of today's talk is called I Did It. Identity. Accepting that falsity is happening. It is just happening. So core value number 3 is we accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are, or letting go of the identity. So that is our core value for today's talk. And it's so fun to me that Revolver is up because the reading for today comes from Awake, which is Awake, It's Your Turn, which is the book by Angelo Dilullo. And it's an excerpt from that book. And if you've had the opportunity to begin reading that book or are looking at that book or contemplating that book, he does this fun little thing within the chapters where he has quotes, and he, if he refers to a specific topic, he then will put that whole topic or that whole quote within the context of the book. So you get like not only his retelling of why that particular quote resonated for him, but also you get the opportunity to look at the quote yourself and resonate for you. So at the beginning of this chapter that we're about to read, which we're just reading an excerpt from it, which is chapter 11, it's called Mind Identification. He actually does a little script from Revolver. So fun for me to hear that Revolver is the movie of the month, because Revolver has been up for me too as something it is time to rewatch. So before I hand the mic over to Joy Bedford, who was kind enough to offer to be our reader today, I'm going to play for you, or Sina actually is going to play for you, a very short clip from the movie Revolver, which is a setup for this particular chapter that we're about to read. So, in case it wasn't incredibly clear, that was a setup for how we identify with the mind, how the ego is what ends up being followed. We don't even really know how or when that happened. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Joy, who is going to read Angelo Dilullo's version of how that happens. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Rhoda. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So here we go. In the previous chapter, we discussed some of the latter stages of realization. When those insights are realized, unobstructed flow, intimacy, spontaneity, and unbroken peace are not only experienced, but it becomes clear that they are the natural qualities of unfiltered reality. These natural qualities no longer have to be discovered or cultivated. They shine radiantly in and as the momentary expression of life force. Someone making a reasonable assessment of their inner life might wonder after hearing that, well, why in the heck do I not experience that kind of peace and flow moment to moment? If it is my birthright, why does it seem to be so elusive? That's a very good question and a very relevant question. This chapter will answer that question. At least it will answer it conceptually and give you a framework for the undertaking that will eventually help you to understand it directly through realization. The simple answer to the question of what obscures natural reality is that by nature, free of suffering, is mind identification. Mind identification is the mode of experiencing reality, where our identity is derived from and intertwined with thoughts, concepts, and beliefs. This isn't merely a paradigm or a specific way of thinking about ourselves and our relation to the various aspects of our lives. It is a pervasive pattern of perceptive distortions that, on an ongoing basis, affects how it feels to be a human inhabiting a body and navigating the seemingly external world. Specifically, it creates the ongoing illusions that we are, first, separate from our own thoughts, emotions, and bodies, separate from others, even those who are closest to us, separate from our environment, separate from the cosmos, something discrete and short-lived, such that we feel we are always at risk and need to constantly protect ourselves. Living in a prison of time, it feels like there are never enough hours in the day, and we must negotiate and sacrifice to best use, quote unquote, the precious little time we have. This leads to impatience, urgency, and restlessness, endlessly seeking, experiencing some degree of angst most or all of the time, never fully satisfied, never truly at peace, experiencing life in a way that often feels inauthentic. Well, the good news is that we don't need to understand anything about mind identification to wake up. The techniques and inquiries that lead to awakening and realization are actually quite simple and don't require nuanced understanding of the material. So the purpose is not to urge you to make an intellectual study of mind identification or ego structures. Rather, it is to give you the whole picture. Its purpose is to relate to you that, as uncomfortable as it might feel to realize that all the mechanisms that keep us suffering are the ones that we are carrying around with us all the time. It is equally empowering to recognize that we hold literally every key necessary to waking ourselves up. There is still one thing we haven't discussed about this virtual world. Do you remember how I said that we would address what causes this virtual world to come into being, keeping the story running? Well, here we are. Go ahead. Put those goggles back on for a moment. What do you see? It looks a lot like the room you were in right before you put them on, doesn't it? Yes, that virtual reality simulator is particularly good at making the virtual story seamless with your previous experiences. It doesn't miss a beat. It feels like the one ongoing story, and you can recall various portions of that story at a moment's notice. You can even influence the story as you go along, can't you? In fact, there are other characters that come along in this virtual world and teach you how to do just that. They tell you that if you imagine something in this virtual world, you will create that reality. Then you try it, and it works. Everything you think seems to be happening. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but there is comfort in those thoughts, isn't there? You're creating your own story, minute by minute. How fun! How hypnotic! Here, you don't have to feel painful emotions because you can immediately imagine something more pleasant. Wait, when did you decide that it wasn't okay to feel emotions? Never mind, let's go explore. Then a trusted person comes along, and then another, and they tell you, don't look too close at what's happening or how you got here. Don't ruminate. You have to keep looking forward, imagining a better life. Then chase that life to make it happen. Oh, that's right. I have to keep the thoughts going and changing this world into what I want it to be. That's the key. something still just doesn't feel right about all this. The last piece of the puzzle with regard to the virtual reality goggles is that we are not kept prisoner by force. We are kept prisoner by choice. We willingly interact with and engage the virtual reality world. Well, we do it first, but very quickly that world swallows us up. At some point, we get confused about whether it is true. We get confused about whether it is me that is choosing these thoughts, or whether they are just coming automatically. After a time, we even forget that we ever actually entered this virtual world. By the time we start to recognize that it feels uncomfortable to be here, we've already learned how to avoid the very discomfort using the thought system to purposely push ourselves farther into the house of mirrors. So ultimately, we learn to use the virtual reality system to avoid the truth that it's fundamentally uncomfortable to be inside that system. We are now becoming an active supporter of the system that is imprisoning us. A further trick we play on ourselves is forgetting that it is a choice to be in the house of mirrors in the first place. We've become identified with the thought system itself, meaning we feel compelled to defend its integrity and thus walk deeper and deeper into the house of mirrors that is made up of thought and belief and hidden desires. Each layer of delusional identity we add requires another layer of distorting beliefs to help us forget what it is to live in and as unfiltered reality. This in turn creates further reinforcement and defense of the lie we keep telling ourselves. This requires more and more effort and more thought, which ultimately becomes exhausting. Yet as long as we keep pushing ourselves further into this delusion, the alarm bells going off in the emotions, in the emotion body, get more and more distant. This is how it goes. The virtual reality world, as you may have guessed, is the world of thought and imagination. The virtual reality world isn't being imposed upon us. We are making it ourselves, moment to moment. But are we? Do we specifically remember the point in time when we decided to forego actual life for this internal reflection of reality? I can't actually remember, because as I remember, I'm no longer clear on whether that memory is a thought I'm making right now, or if that actually happened. Wow, it's kind of scary if I think about it. Wait, fear, that's another negative, quote unquote, emotion. I've learned what to do when those come. I simply imagine a better reality, a future where things feel better. Now I notice another layer of thoughts has replaced the previous layer that was uncomfortable. This starts to make me feel uneasy, like there's something wrong with this story, but I can't remember how it started. I really want to stop for a moment and see what's happening. What you know, you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's like there's a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. That's a quote from Morpheus in The Matrix. This is the human condition, and it's a problem defined by thought identification and entanglement. If this goes on long enough, we become like automatons, numb beings carrying out stereotyped scripts. We become disconnected from our deeper selves and our deeper truths, deeply rooted in resistance patterns and repressed emotions, create a perfect storm for unconscious, self-centered, and callous behaviors. If our circumstances and conditioning are unfavorable enough, this will inevitably lead to violence at some level. In the right set of local conditions, groups of people can begin to act in concert in unconscious ways, perpetrating violence on larger scales. This can happen in families, communities, even entire nations. Thank you.
As I listened to Joy read this, so I've read this several times over the last week and just allowed what was here to be seen to be seen. And when I first started listening to it, when I first started reading it, what's been coming up a lot for me lately is this sense that attention keeps getting distracted. And it gets distracted by that which it is which it is most comfortable with. And that segment from The Revolver that speaks about hiding in plain sight just really, really clarified it for me. A few weeks ago, Reverend Joanne Schneider did a homily, and she spoke about believing or acceptance, I believe Regina called it. And what I noticed was this desire to push away thinking. Not in like the way that you surrender it, to actually surrender, notice that I see it's happening and not follow it, but to push it away. What I notice is there's often this kind of like, okay, if it's not that way, it's got to be this way. So if it's this way, let me push, get it away so that I can awaken somehow. I don't know what it thinks. I don't know what I think it's doing. But then it started to become really clear. Acceptance of falsity is happening. It is happening. And so what does that look like for me when I am accepting falsity? Angelo gives us this beautiful list of all the ways that we believe that we are separate from a body, separate from emotions, separate from everything around us, separate from God, separate from time, in a constant state of worry and angst. That may not be true for everyone, but it's true here. It happens here often. Doesn't happen constantly, but what's true is it's still happening. It is still happening. Most recently in my life, there's been, several family members have been ill. There's been hospitalizations. There's been transitioning of people. My aunt transitioned recently. And all of this has just been bringing up this sense that I am a body and they are bodies and we are separate. And there's been this giant, like, put the brakes on quick. Something's got to fix this incredible discomfort that's happening right now. This incredible unresolved, energetic wash that is coming through this body. And I have so much gratitude for knowing the falsity of this, because the way that I hear Angelo Dilullo describe what I have heard from the Course in Miracles is the VR goggles are basically the thought system, the filter through which the world is getting watched, through which reality is getting experienced, through which the dream exists. And when some of these basic things happen in life, someone transitions, expectations of who I am as a part of a family come up, expectations of who I am as part of a community come up, expectations of who I am, and they just keep happening, like these false thoughts about an I and a body and separation from the world. They keep happening. They're just happening. I don't know the point at which I consciously chose to listen to that yakety yak of this mind. I don't know when that happened. And I heard Jacqueline say in the announcements, she would argue that it's existential. That may actually be the closer to the truth than I chose it. But what's the difference now for me? What I am noticing now is that unless I look right at the fact that falsity happens, there is a habit here that follows those thoughts, that yakety yak. And it asks for attention. It asks to be heard. It asks for air. It asks to be followed. But it's not actually asking to be right. It just wants to know. That's what the mind is constantly doing. It is constantly propping up this I know sense so that it has some place to land. It doesn't actually care whether you believe that the truth is true or whether you don't believe that the truth is true. It doesn't actually care. It just wants to know which one to put attention on. And so what I'm noticing for myself is if I don't accept that this is how the mechanism works, I can't possibly stand back and watch because I'm still caught up in it. I'm still believing that there's some new thought that's going to help me somehow get out of what I'm not actually in. So what that leads me to is back to this knowing that I have to accept this is what happens. I don't need to push it away. I don't need to change how it shows up. Yakety yak is happening. Now, here's the clarity that comes in from this. And yes, we are going to get to listen to the song. Don't talk back is the wisdom. You hear the yakety yak, but I don't need to talk back to it. I just need to know that that is the mechanism. The mechanism is yakety-yakking away. And it's not the don't talk back that it was originally heard as, like, be in your corner, be a good person, do your job, listen to mom, that's not the don't talk back. That is that is like rest, 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 accept that the yakety yak is happening. Trust by not talking back to it. You don't need to give it any more fuel. It doesn't need any more gasoline. It doesn't need another spark. It will eventually smother itself out. So accepting that falsity is happening feels like the cleanest way to disidentify with mind. Mind creates all sorts of noise. And the innocence that we are, honestly, if you look back, I certainly don't know when I chose to listen. I have no idea when this decision to believe every thought that has been perpetrated in the world to be believed. But I do know that society, that the consciousness as a whole has put great value on believing the ego system as true. And so the gift that this is that we are able to take a step back. We have felt the call. We have felt that niggling, something's just not right here. Something here is just not right. That one who thinks that they need to rush off to Florida, or maybe jump in a plane to Texas, or, oh my gosh, I wish my brother would help me, but now that he's helping me, oh my gosh, I should be the one doing it. That's the craziness. There's no need to believe that anymore. And so it feels so alive to just really step back and see how many ways that this mind identification happens. It's got layers and it's got levels, and the clarity comes, and there's so much. I am sure that everyone in this room has felt these moments where you just go, wow, this is amazing, like amazing. It's an amazing system that has been created to hide the truth. It is amazing. And then something triggers, some samskara comes up, and crash. We are right in it, right in it. Someone transitions. Someone gets sick. And we are innocent because this is the habit, right? If I think about the Plato's cave allegory, if you've been looking chained down with your head down, looking at shadows your whole life, and you're suddenly unchained, it isn't natural to constantly be turning to the sun, because the habit has been chained down, looking at the shadows, believing the yakety yak of the mind. But when, with enough patience and enough trust and enough belief in the innocence that we are, and enough devotion over time, that new habit kicks in. And what Angelo described in the very beginning of his reading, of his writing, when those insights are realized, unobstructed flow, intimacy, spontaneity, and unbroken peace are not only experienced, but it becomes clear that they are the natural qualities of unfiltered reality. That's what's available. That's what's available. And there's no point in berating ourselves when the old habit energy of looking at the shadows happens. Because that habit may be existential. It may have been happening for so long that we don't even know we're doing it. It just happens. And the more willing we are to see the yakety yak without talking back to it, the more capacity we have for allowing clarity to also be. The mind doesn't care what we focus on. The mind just wants to know. And in those moments of seeing that the mind has to know, we can trust that we don't need to know. And we can let the mind rest there, trusting that we don't need to know. And that feels complete. I want to thank you all for being here today. I am going to share Yakety Yak with you. We are going to play that song, but before we do, I just want to remind you that we are a church, and as such, we are gratefully supported by your donations. So if you feel called, if the Spirit moves you today, we are passing the plate. Feel free to donate. Sina has placed a link in the chat, and let's listen to Yakety Yak. All right, Yakety Yak, don't talk back. Yes, love that song. So fun. We have some time before the end of today's weekly gathering. If anyone feels called or feels the prompt and would like to share or teach themselves anything, please feel free to raise your hand. Joe, I think I see you. Or Joanne, that's Joanne. I see that.
Yeah, I'm out walking, and your teaching came at a great time for me. I had an incident with my sister yesterday, and all the things that you said, the expectations we have about how to respond in the world, coming from this place of separation and the yakety yak. I mean, we went out with friends shortly after, so I could hear this yakety yak come in, and then I would push it away. And yet I have this knowingness that pushing it away isn't right either. It just gets it down there. And so what came to me this, during your teaching was I need to spend some time to really see what painful things I have to bring up, right? Anyway, that's all. It was just really great. And thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Lovely to be with you today. Hi, Melissa.
So many gold nuggets for me, and I'm sure for everyone. And the expectation, how everything flowed through you really hit me, and in ways that I'll be able to reread this and rewatch this. I wrote so many things you said down, Rhoda. Accepting that yakety yak is happening, And you said it's like seems to be the cleanest way too, and I can't remember what you said exactly, but I'm toward probably seeing the truth. And no need to feed it. I love the reminders to rest, accept, and trust when it's happening. How you brought up samskara. All of this to me is just hearing it again and again, helping me to follow in the footsteps of the truth that happens when we choose to awaken, more than we choose to put our attention on the mind chatter. And that was one of the other hundreds of points you brought up that helped me to just see clarity better and better, and what to do, and to allow, oh my gosh, and then you reminded us why we're innocent, because not to judge ourselves, because habit just kicks in when we're triggered. And Cindy called me last week after I was so concerned and worried, and she's like, just remember, ego's a liar. And that, together with your remembering that it's habit, so not to judge myself and be hard on myself. And I love that. The willingness to see that it's just habit kicking in allows me to be gentle with myself, which of course means gentle with everyone else, which of course is that trickle, that lessening of vibration I send out in the universe that feels like pain, the gentleness, and so grateful. And I just want to share, I'm sorry for talking so much, but I just want to share one more thing. Our son is with us here, 21, and he feels so bad this summer that he hasn't gone out and gotten a job. And the truth is he hurt himself skiing. He hasn't been able to walk. His knee was operated on, and they harvested his own quad tendon. So, I mean, the kid has been so hard on himself, but he actually took parts of his body to fix his own body. And he doesn't understand how incredible that feat alone is. And, he thought he'd be able to walk right away, and it's 12 weeks later, and he's doing incredible. The swelling's gone down. He's found great PT here. We've been able to pay him to help us with our house. And he doesn't understand just the beauty and value in that. He feels bad that he hasn't gone out and gotten a job so he doesn't have to tax us. And then my brother-in-law needs my help and attention with getting social services to him. He's fallen and broken 5 ribs and punctured his lung. And we have to go to my father-in-law's house to help him clean. And we're living in construction. And all that talk is like, because of all of this clarity that I've been getting from you and Anne awakening together, sign that everybody joy. And I can sit and hear and see the talk. You should be home cleaning your own damn house so you can make it more comfortable for your family. And nah. It's all okay. And when I need a rest, I'm gonna rest. And when I hear the call to go to the hospital and help Jeff, I'll do that. And when I hear the call to go clean Orlo's house, I'll go do that. And when our house gets done, it gets done. And oh my God, thank you, all of you. I hope it's coming through. My love, my gratitude, my appreciation for seeing, so that I can just be the vessel. As exhausting as this all is, it's okay. Thank you.
Amen. It's all okay. Thank you, Melissa. I see that it is 29 past the hour, so we still have a little bit of time. If anyone else has anything that they'd like to share. And if not, I'd invite you to join Rev Tawanda for the fellowship half hour that is coming next. Joy, thank you again for the beautiful reading. Thank you to all of you for being here, spending this time this morning. It has been a true gift. No one gets more out of this than the one who gets to teach themselves. So thank you all. Love you. Handing it back to Sina.
Been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.